Hello, everyone, and welcome to the day 2 of ReTechCon 2021. And a very warm welcome to all the panelists over here. Some of them are very close friends of mine. Hello, everyone, and good to meet all of you after a long time. Today's topic is about technologies that enable 360-degree collaboration in the omnichannel world. From businesses to individuals, we have all been affected one way or another by the COVID-19 pandemic. While we know that many businesses have an extremely difficult time, some businesses have managed to turn their fortunes around. In fact, many businesses are enjoying some very positive changes that have come out of the situation. There's no denying the way we work has changed, but in many ways, it has changed for the better. During this unprecedented time, we have seen companies and employees embrace new skills and develop new behaviors, which have improved the way we operate. Many businesses have managed to use the COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity for change. But just how has this year helped change the way we work for the better? How is an artist meant to paint a lifelike portrait without seeing their subject properly? Painting done while the model sits is a half light, is never going to capture a true likeness. Yet many organizations expect to understand their customers without being able to see them properly. Of course, in business terms, seeing comes about by using all the different pieces of digital information that the organizations hold on each of their clients and prospects. Similarly, a highly collaborative workplace can foster creativity, boost morale, and improve productivity. The wrong approach, however, can slow or even derail an important project rather than speed up the process. Organizations have invested heavily into collaborative tools for improved productivity and business alignment. It's important, however, to understand how to effectively leverage these tools so that they foster productive collaboration rather than distraction or aversion. Let's move on very quickly to our esteemed panelists. I request all of you all to give a brief introduction about yourself, and then we'll take it forward from there. Starting with you, Aniruddha.
Hi. Good afternoon to everyone, all the panelists and the viewers. So I'm the Chief Sales Officer for Spencer's Retail right now in retail industry for 15 odd years. And before that, I was into leading FMCG companies, many FMCG companies in commodity and food brand segment. And last 4 years, I was into the supply chain. So when the pandemic struck, I was heading the supply chain for the company. And after wave 2, now I am into sales and operation. Looking forward for a very interactive session. Thank you.
Thanks, Aniruddha. Kiran?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon, Kunal. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kiran Komatla. I'm heading IT and Senior Vice President IT at Burger King Limited. And I'm being in retail industry from last 18 years. And I look forward for a very good panel today. Thanks.
Thanks. George?
Good afternoon, Kunal, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. My name is George Pepes. I am the APAC Vertical Solutions Marketing Lead for Zebra Technologies. I've been working in the automatic identification and data capture industry for about 20 years now, and essentially my role is to talk to retailers about how they can implement change and digital transformation within their stores.
Thanks, George. Rajeev?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's Rajeev Agrawal here. I'm the founder and CEO of Innoviti Payment Solutions. We are a payments company. We're focusing on turning transactions into business collaboration tools between various businesses. Would love to be talking about that today afternoon. So happy to be there and look forward to the session. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajeev. Tirthankar?
First of all, thank you for having us as part of your esteemed panel discussion. My name is Tirthankar Kshetrimayum, in short TK because it's a very long name. In general, just a background, I head the RFID division for Avery Dennison Smart Track for South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Middle East. And we help retailers across the globe achieve their desired, I would say, supply chain visibility and efficiency using RFID technology. I have over 18 years experience in this field, and currently quite a lot of exciting things happening in India, even though there's a pandemic going on. And look forward to the discussion today. Thank you so much.
Krishna.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me here and looking forward to a great discussion. I am with Titan and I am Chief Digital Officer with about 3 years tenure in Titan right now. And my previous experience has been mostly in financial services. So the combination actually is quite interesting. So really look forward to this afternoon, and I'm sure I will learn as much as I hope to contribute.
Looking forward. And last but not the least, you have the very dynamic Vishal with us.
Thank you. Thank you for setting me up, Kunal. So very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Vishal. I lead the technology function for a leading fashion retailer in India as a CTO. In industry for more than 20 plus years, trying to do my bit, and very proud that whatever I'm able to work on various different initiatives and products, it's been loved by customers, and we receive continuous feedback. So it pushes us to do better. I love to contribute and hear from all the panelists, and glad to be here. Thank you.
Great, wonderful. So we've got a very, very packed session and some wonderful panelists there, and hope all of us are able to learn from each other. I'll start with my, first point we heard about what were the initial challenges, that your organizations faced, collaborating across business functions, and how did we all overcome some of these challenges? So I'd like to start off with Aniruddha, and then I'll appreciate if Vishal and Kiran could kind of join it and give their experiences.
Yeah. Last 1.5 years, we are discussing almost now 6 quarters about the disruption. So obviously the most interesting and insightful changes that we observe in the consumer behavior. And every disruption, every solution flows by observing changes in consumer behavior, and hence, the changes in the consumption pattern, both within store, out of store, and the digital medium, and to provide them solution, both physical and digital solution or physical solution. So in a nutshell, it's like that. If I want to be a little more specific, the consumption pattern got changed drastically because of the pandemic threat and everything, both in terms of consumer frequency, in terms of the wallet share per visit, and the brand preference. So everything is completely different from where it was in 2019, and also to the visiting trip purpose, what we say, between standalone store, shopping complex store, and the mall store. So the trip purpose has completely changed. So the first challenge which we have faced in terms of ordering and forecasting process to cope up with that particular change in the demand pattern. So in retail, all of us know that our shopping trips are between 10 to 12 per month for a grocery and non-grocery combination. So that 10 to 12, because of the risk factor, COVID related, came down to 3, 4, and the per delivery value has actually gone up. So from the availability perspective, retailers become much more cautious in terms of giving proper service in each delivery. So
yeah, I think Aniruddha, I think you made a very valid point over there, and that's I think every organization, every industry is kind of facing a similar issue and coping up differently. I'd like to move this question to Vishal and ask him, if one was the customer facing, the other is also internal employees, right? How did we collaborate within that? Because I mean, the customer facing part comes is the front end part of it, but you also need to have a lot of collaboration in house and internally. Where what kind of tools and technologies have you seen within your organization or across different brands from your experience, and how have things evolved over the last 1 year?
Okay, let me let me share a few interesting things because there were some designers who were doing various different design work. They used to cry and they used to come to me and that they need an iMac, a bigger one and the latest one, and without that they can't differentiate colors. And when there was a lockdown, all these requests disappeared. And people whom we were trying to teach many things, there was self-training that was happening. The whole concept, see, when Kunal, you are talking about internal and what is internal thought process. Earlier, people were very hesitant. How do I work from remote and things like that? When the reality hit, people adjusted to the normal. Now we are in a phase of coming back where it's very difficult, and it's proving very difficult for many people to even come out of that ways of working back to office. And I am sitting in office, as you can see. My team is here. So a lot of people voluntarily, they are asking that, we are tired of sitting in very, very long calls, virtual calls. It's not possible to sit 2-3 hours on a virtual call. It's very painful too, despite all the fact that we have all the collaboration tools available. The whiteboarding and knocking somebody, tapping somebody on their back and saying that, this is the help we need from you, and a cross departmental collaboration on many projects, because many of us are working, and I think every one of us are working on various different initiatives, whether it's improving the backend services or the front end projects or whatever customer service related stuff. It has proved very difficult for people to collaborate, and calls after calls prove to be very tiring for many people. And there are, hence, despite all of this that was happening, and tools, I don't want to get into what tools and technologies, one thing I've invested quite a lot is on the re-looking at the IT security portfolio and getting the assessment done during this process, because everybody is sitting in different places, and making sure that the data centers, the cloud architecture that we have, we mitigate the risk that may come from there, because you get hit when you are weakest, and we do not have people. But having said that, the entire ecosystem actually worked towards the new things, as TK mentioned in his introduction. So this has been very interesting times. So this is first time virtually we are, I'm seeing how TK looks, though we have interacted earlier. So
yeah, Vishal, same. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so and we have moved the needle on the RFID, and we're spending quite a lot of efforts. So Innoviti teams are really, they helped my team, and I'm glad to we didn't, so we had the tools to meet interactive in the virtual world with Rajeev, but point is teams collaborated extremely well. And if we were to serve customers, lift our revenues up, we used all the might that we had to move the needle on various different initiatives, is all I wanted to say.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vishal. So Kiran, I mean, again, QSR, different industry altogether. Pandemic hits, everyone's sitting and ordering food at home. But at the same time, how do you measure this collaboration? I mean, the productivity of the employees, the productivity of their stores. What were the measures that you took back then, on people's KRAs? Because even the mindsets of people had changed, right? And a lot of people were getting impacted also. So emotionally, physically, at the same time, and now that things are getting back to normal, how have things changed for you? So if you could share some light on that.
Yeah, thanks. So in QSR business, since we are under essentials, and even though there is an impact of COVID from last 1.5 year, the back kitchen operations never stops. So we have two different challenges. One is the management team working from different locations, and the crew and the restaurant teams who are going to restaurants and making sure they maintain all the social norms and make sure that they are able to do their job on their sites. So there are two different challenges in terms of people management, how you interact with them, how you motivate, how you come to know where they stand, how you are able to communicate to them, and also take care of their health, and how you mobilize your teams. Like in restaurant industries, we have different formats, like we are in malls, we are in high streets, we have drive-thrus. So some are closed, some are open, and local authorities have created different set of rules and norms. So there are too much of communication which we need to seamlessly communicate. Day in, day out, people are going out and they are also doing their job at sites, and mobilizing people and communicating and educating and keeping the brand standards. This is all a challenging thing, but through technology, with the collaboration of good vendor partners, we are able to largely manage this, and we are able to handle the business. And when it comes to the customer, again, when it comes to a customer facing, no matter if customer is coming to a restaurant and touch and go, he's taking something from a restaurant for his meal, or if he's ordering from any delivery platforms, we should also maintain the same contactless transaction. So suddenly the shift of how we interact, the QSR is a kind of a restaurants you see, it's a 2 minute checkout, and you see 4-5 people standing in a queue, and it will be always crowded kind of thing. Suddenly it become like there is no contact, your main doors are closed, but still you have to protect your business, your employees, and also make a same taste and food to customers when they order from anywhere. So we must focus on how to make it contactless dine-in, contactless takeaway, contactless delivery, dropping at your main gate rather coming and knocking your bell and giving the food. So there are many stages in which we have to act, and we to make sure that the hygiene standards are maintained. The local law is being able to we cope up with that, because every state, every local bodies have a different way of operations. Some allow, some doesn't allow. So we had a very painful and good learning, and we came to a journey today. We are again back to normal in majority of the geographies, and still with all code norms, how a customer is interacting with a cashier is totally changed. How the customer is interacting on digital platforms is totally changed. So this all has been possible by partnering with right partners, and we see a dynamic shift in the type of orders which used to come from online and offline. The shift is towards the digital now, and so we should be available for customer on their fingertips. So that's the areas we focused, and we are almost back to normal. And a few pockets mainly where there is a malls, still there is still gaps, but we are trying to come back, and I think we had a very good learning and a journey. That's how it happened.
Thanks, Kiran. Which brings me to a very interesting topic, which is the next one, which is, what kind of challenges did the new tools and technologies use during these times, and how did you use that to connect with consumers to improve the overall customer engagement? And I'd like to kind of bring in Krishnan over here to get his perspective, because Titan has multiple brands under its portfolio, and a lot of these products are something that people want to use. I mean, see it and touch and feel before they actually buy it, right? So how did that change the way your organization worked? And then I'd like to have Rajeev come in over there to kind of bring in the other side of the table in terms of, how do you collaborate with customers on this?
Great. So I'd like to start off with informing everyone that I just returned from an offsite. And I think after more than a year, several of us from all over the country met under one roof, and a thoroughly enjoyable business discussion during the day. And I must say,
You're one of those lucky ones to even get an offsite. We're still grappling with work from home.
I know. I'm just persuading all of you, okay? And obviously expressing the wish that
yes,
March 2020 ceases to be a point of discussion very soon, right?
Absolutely.
Things do come back to normal. So that's it, right? So yes, as at Titan, we have been engaged in a transformation journey on the digital front since I think 2018 or so, 2017 approximately. So we were kind of getting prepared for what we call an omni-channel experience, but from the customer point of view, we should actually call it unichannel.
Yeah.
We end up calling it omni-channel because we are fragmented internally, right? So, but we have been preparing for that, digital, physical, and the word that's been invented for that, phygital.
Digital.
Right. And right from April of last year, we saw a rapid increase in customer adoption of the platforms that we had. So if you take a typical customer journey of which we have served thousands, and it's worked with very pleasing success. A customer would come onto our website to see our portfolio, right? We would invite a live chat or a callback, book an appointment, right? In watches and now in saris, our store-wise portfolio is visible on the web. So you can actually choose a store and book a watch in that store. The use cases, I'm sure you're familiar with, reserve online, pick up in store, buy online, pick up in store, and those features are already been there. So a customer can progress from a website browsing to a live chat with an expert colleague. Then next would be a video call with our jewelry expert from the store, including the demonstration of merchandise, right? And then an invitation to the customer to spend a secure but shorter visit in the store just to peruse a shortlist which he has managed to finalize in that digital conversation. And then a visit which might have been otherwise a long, pleasant family visit of 90 minutes becomes an efficient visit of maybe 15-20 minutes, right? And we as a company have been commended for our gold standard of safety across all our stores, right? We are extremely careful, and I must use this occasion to pay tribute to our store colleagues who have been double masked and wearing the shield as well through the working day. It's not pleasant at all.
Yeah.
Right? At least some of us who have taken a flight would know how unpleasant that is even for 1.5 hours, right? So, but then yes, from the customer perspective, 20 minutes, select your product out of the 4 which you have shortlisted. Payment is contactless, and I'm sure Rajeev will have much more to say about that, right? Yeah. And then take your merchandise and go. And perfectly safe and absolutely pleasurable, and the goal is achieved. You have bought what you wanted, right? Sure. So thousands of such experiences, and this is frankly just one use case out of many. I could go on and on.
Right.
And I'm sure the stitching of it, the various technologies that come into giving this experience are obvious to many of us, right? The underlying CRM, the website, the journey mapping, and obviously the video calling infrastructure, which is fairly standardized now, more than one solution available, right? And contactless payment is now a norm, and a point of sale has always been there. So all these technologies we had been integrating. Obviously, we got tested, and I must say we have been able to very successfully deliver many, many pleasing user experiences with this integration. It's worked. Sure.
So Rajeev, coming to you, I mean, you've been on fires over the last couple of years, and the whole of last year, especially with, everyone investing heavily on technology. You've been there in the forefront. So we'll really like to understand and, understand what kind of experiences you have with different customers.
Yeah, no, thanks. And it is very, very interesting too. And the way you organize the session, and I was hearing through from retailers from different segments, it was very interesting. I'll talk about, I think, a fairly major transformation we saw happening in the last 2 years, last 1.5 years, and rather, let me say, accelerating in the last 1.5 years, which was around collaboration between businesses who were talking to the same consumer, but they had no easy way to talk to each other. So let me sort of illustrate this with what we started observing. So we are from the payment space. In many ways, a payment is looked at as a very functional transaction of moving money from a buyer to a seller, which it is. It is the main purpose that it carries. But having said that, if you sort of look at it a little differently, it is also the only accurate digital measure of consumption in an economy. Because till the time a consumer does not pay, everything is intent, right? I have selected my card, I have decided to buy something, but till I don't shell out money, it's all intent that it is operating on. And translating that intent into an actual purchase is the point of payment, right? I could even cancel at the last minute and say, hey, look, I'll come back later. And meaning as retailers, I'm sure everybody has faced that. And that's a worst situation because all other expenses already been incurred by the store. So visualizing a transaction as a measure of digital consumption, which is something that we have started working on about 2.5, 3 years back, actually has become very interesting because then you can use the point of payment to impart the marketing programs of the different parties who are getting impacted at the point of transaction. So if you look at a transaction happening, meaning I'll take an example from say a food retail, Aniruddha is there from Spencer's. No, so when a consumer is filling up a cart, there are sort of three decisions, they're paying for it. There are three decisions happening. There is, of course, a choice. Where do I want to shop? And the fact that I came to a Spencer's shop versus somebody else. There is also the choice of what am I putting into the cart? Am I putting a Britannia bread or a modern bread or something else? And finally, there is a choice of what payment instrument do I use to pay? Do I use a Google Pay or do I use a contactless card? So there are actually three choices of three different brands which are coming together at that one point of payment. And we visualize this as three marketing budgets available. Because Britannia also wants to market, Spencer's also wants to market, Google also wants to market, right? So, but all the three of them, it's not very easy for them to talk to each other. It's a very complex task, right? If everybody has to start forming connections with every other business, it will quickly compound into a multiplicative factor. So we started putting together this collaboration technology where we said that, look, you can actually go ahead, share your marketing budgets. Transaction is only one. Share your consumers with each other because all the three of you need each other actually to make it happen. We can bring the technology there. And we saw in this period of last 1.5 years when businesses were finding it even harder to talk to each other, even harder to meet each other, we saw a massive surge in collaboration marketing, massive surge, where brands and banks come together, banks and merchants come together, massive surges out there, and various interesting programs. And thanks to that, of course, they also plugged in Facebook and Google marketing. So what you could now do is to do very targeted programs. You could have something running in Pune, which is not running in Mumbai. You could have something running in the South, which is not running in Delhi, right? Very targeted marketing, collaborative marketing. So what is happening? The amount of marketing budget savings that some of our merchants were able to do was nothing short of phenomenal. Very huge. Right? Yeah. And we played the little role of making it happen, bringing it together. So I think that's I think is the new area of collaboration marketing using digital technology that we are seeing sort of emerge, and it's very exciting. I mean, the more we go deeper into it, the more we realize that it's probably the new way for people to attract consumers, save money, share consumers between brands who are non-conflicting, and go ahead and build out different businesses.
Thanks, Rajeev. Which brings me to another question, and we've got two vendors who work internationally across. Again, this was the time when everyone was grappling with what tools to use, what kind of hardware devices, and everyone wanted things at the same time, right? I'll bring in George and Tirthankar at this point of time to really explain us in terms of what was their support model for customers, and what kind of tools did you guys introduce during this period to support these customers, whether it was RFID, whether it was some other technologies in terms of scanners, etc. How did you guys come together during this time? George, you want to go first?
Well, Kunal, I think from our point of view, it was a case of just making sure that we could help our retailers keep the doors open. And I guess the key thing for that is if you were in essence, an essential retailer, then you were fine. You could remain open and still have some sort of clientele come through. But what happens if you're a non-essential? So things like department stores, for instance, had to close, especially here in Australia. So for us, it was a case of how do we keep those customers open and still running? So for the majority of it, it was about really the digital transformation and really the digital transformation within the store. How do we make sure that our customers have the right visibility to where it's needed most? Now, Rajeev mentioned something about collaboration in digital marketing to customers from various brands. I'd like to challenge a lot of retailers around the world to say that they can do the same thing internally. So for us, that was the case of how do we actually give the tools to the people that can actually do the work? So in our instance, for example, mobile computers that can actually see where stock is at any one point in time. There is technology such as RFID, real-time inventory visibility. And what's more important, if you have that across the whole of the supply chain, then you can start making smarter decisions. Again, if you've got a customer in the south, but your distribution center is in the north, and you've got a store in the south that actually has the stock, would it not make more sense to ship it from there? But if you don't have that visibility, and especially in real time, and then the people to go and pick it with the right technology in the palm of their hands to be able to go and get the order, pick the order, pack the order, and get it ready for shipment, then it's really an uphill battle. So for us, it was a case of how do we make sure that we can provide that digital transformation to retailers to really make sure that they could keep the doors open, but even past the pandemic, how that can give them an extra service offering for an even better customer experience.
Kunal, you're on mute.
Sorry. So Tirthankar, have you seen a major shift in terms of how customers worked with you during the last 1 year? And then what kind of a shift are you seeing now at this point?
So Kunal, just to give you a perspective with respect to our organization and technology, we actually don't directly deal with the end users, but we deal with a lot of system integrators or SIs that we call in a system. And what we saw, the challenges were more on the hardware side, compared to software, because software could be managed remotely. And to make it worse specific to our market, there was a chip shortage globally, which is actually making it even worse for us with the pandemic, So we were facing a lot of challenges with respect to how do we supply to our vendors and the timeframes, because sometimes the lead times are 56 weeks, 48 weeks, which is obviously unacceptable in retail environment. And most of our biggest customers are from retail industry. But on a positive note, we actually saw a boom in e-commerce during this pandemic. And what we noticed is also that people who manufactured locally here or who had stocked up locally benefited a lot during this time, right? So one of the key learnings that we as an organization, Evidence and SmartTrack, have understood is that, we have about 7 manufacturing facilities for RFID across the globe. Unfortunately, none in India. So what we learned as for our region was that in order to be supportive to our vendors, we need to have a much bigger local stocking in hand, because these pandemics and uncertain supply chain cost shoot-ups, all this was a big learning experience for us. So the key was that either you manufacture locally or you stock up locally to support our vendors. So that was one of the major learnings, because before it was all really well-connected supply chain global system where everything was coming on time. But due to the pandemic, everything was tested to the country. And this is one of the hard learnings that we had to go through. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Which brings us to the next point of, what kind of internal challenges did a lot of organizations face, and how have we really overcome? What were some key benefits or, let's say, winners that we had on hand? Aniruddha, if I have to start with you, if you could tell us really in terms of what was the various strategies or innovations that you came up with, during that period, within the business functions and within the business teams, to not just work internally, but then also take that further to the customer facing part of it. And if, even if there were also certain, things in terms of mistakes that we made as an organization, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will also like to learn from that.
Yeah, so I'll try specific example. One about the employee and the retail culture. All these decades, we taught our employees that go, greet, interact with shopper. All of a sudden, in fine day, because of pandemic, we are saying, don't go closer to the shopper, maintain social distance, don't interact unless you have asked for. So from the HR skills perspective, it's a huge transformation for an organization of thousands of employees across 45 cities. So that's one challenge which we have faced pre and post. The second is in terms of channel preference. The out of store contribution was in a very low level of single digit into the entire portfolio. That became almost 15 to 18% of the total portfolio in last few quarters. And obviously, in terms of processes, where the whole inventory was managed within the box, now say 1 out of 5 inventories are moving out of store before the transaction and getaway piece is getting close. That's one thing. So second piece is we have revived one very traditional Indian channel, which was ordering by phone, which was experienced into general trade. Now in modern trade, during that period, and Spencer's was a pioneer into that, we have started the phone delivery, phone for ordering from the normal grocery. So all of our workforce who were a champion on the shop floor become telecallers. That's again a very new skill set. And we are very happy to say a very high level double-digit sale is coming from phone ordering today. And related to that, you also asked to talk about one failure. To make it more tech savvy, we got IVR into the phone ordering, the auto ordering, and we have also enabled voice ordering so that even you don't need to call it up. You just dial, push few buttons, and you just say 1 kg potato, 2 kg onion. We'll download your voice message and we'll call you back. There we have seen, consumers looking at the IVR inbound number. Sometime whosoever has a true caller, it gets into a red coloring, and most of the time, true callers identifying that beyond the name set by us into the system. So IVR is one area which we want to be more successful because we want to interact with lakhs of consumer over phone, and that's a very convenient channel. So that's one area we are yet to crack totally.
Thanks. So Vishal, if I have to move to brands such as yours, where people want to try and feel clothes, especially the new seasons coming in, etc. For most of the fashion brands, again, not trying clothes and etc. in certain states, etc. I mean, it's still an issue, right? What kind of tools did you see kind of coming into play in terms of the customer experience there? And then overall, between operations, supply chain, how did that collaboration kind of come together?
Thanks for asking this question, Kunal. Because whenever e-commerce or digital business case for fashion is created, there is a general assumption that people make in business case that 30% returns are factored in.
Yeah.
Okay. In India, more or less. Okay. But to our surprise and what industry has witnessed, what I know of, other than the platform, the pure brand websites, they have seen less than 20% of returns. What does it mean? It means, plus this is one data point. The second data point is in last 1 year, 12 to 18 months, we have seen in India more than 90% more brand-led websites come into play. Okay, so all those brands who were not having websites, now we have more and more brand websites available, and customers who are aware of the brand and what brand promise is there, and they know their size and fit, they're buying more directly from the brand side instead of platform. So people are buying from platform. I'm not saying they're not buying, but I'm saying this sale uplift in sale that has happened, and that velocity is increasing. Okay.
Right.
Which is contrary to our the belief that was there, that people want to try and fashion and then feel it and do various different things and then buy. I'm not saying that the shift has happened. People are not going to stores because stores have opened, and we are seeing that with the new season, autumn season collection there in store, it's flying off the shelf. Anyone who is having a relevant product is flying off the shelf. So it's a hybrid model that is in play. Okay. In terms of technology play and the supply chain play, and your question largely that how do you optimize this? Okay, I'm just elevating this whole thing. My take here is there was a problem. How do brands reach out to customers who are looking for maybe essentials or innerwears or many different things? Okay, maybe casuals, because my wardrobe was full of formals, then a lot of casuals, and but usually a lot of people who are corporate types, they had less of casuals. So the trend happened. There was not much of size, fit, and all that. If something is a little loose, that's also okay. So what has happened is, to solve one problem, people invested on technology platform, building customer data platform, knowing customer, getting feedback, supply chain, and so on and so forth. When they moved in that direction of solving that problem, they implemented certain solutions, and people realized that those solutions came with another set of problems. Okay. Like Aniruddha mentioned about IVR, they implemented something and then they figured out that this solution itself has opened door for new problems that they need to solve. And this is with everything. And this is with live chat box or whatever you may call it, RFID. So that's an ongoing battle that we have to fight. And it's an ongoing journey. And my take here is it's more of an operating model setup that we need to solve as retailers and as companies, that we need to really push our capabilities and the whole operating model equation faster.
So I'll bring in Rajeev over here because, Vishal's mentioning about these problems that they faced, and, there are success stories also. You as a partner obviously also had to, deal with this with a lot of customers and also internally, right? Because as much as for the customer, for you also, it was the new situation to be in. How did you deal with this, and what kind of changes did you bring into your organization to work with customers and internally?
Yeah, thanks. So we did face, in fact, quite phenomenal issues, both during the lockdown as well as soon as the first unlocks were announced. Because in many of the stores, these terminals had been lying there for 2 to 3 months. There are various algorithms of the banks that keep running, which block out systems at the backend side because systems are not in use, and all kinds of hell broke loose when the first unlock happened. And we had to really, I'm sure some of my customers must be unhappy with me at that point in time, but we really had to struggle to do this. I think the important things that we had to, we started building through was a lot of proactive and preventive management capability, which in the usual run was not as important because everything used to be open. So we started building a lot of that. We started building in a lot of capability around the times of the week and the times of the day that people do these kind of actions, because again, for the same reasons, the stores did not want too much of the staff coming in, too much of our people also coming in, too many of our people. So we started adjusting things around that. A lot of technology in terms of making sure that the closure of the loop happens well. So one of the things we implemented was a lot of automatic closure of ticketing, in the sense that can you detect the original reason of the issue, and then if that reason of the issue has got addressed through a future transaction, then you automatically, so that governance standards become better. So a lot of those things we had to introduce internally. Besides, of course, from a technology perspective, one very curious advantage that we saw as a result of this was that documentation levels improved, because people could not, to Vishal's point, that people could not go and tap on somebody's door or somebody's shoulder, hey, help me out, because everybody was not available. So we suddenly saw that the engineering documentation went through the roof. People were actually collaborating through that, which was good, which was interesting. Right. Coming to external side, I think some of the things which really took off were, as Mr. Krishnan was also mentioning, is the contactless payments. And around contactless payments, actually, the dimension around UPI. Now, UPI in organized trade, because we primarily focus on organized trade, has not been a very successful thing, because it deals with a lot of reconciliation has to happen. Whom do you send the message receipt to? Cashier can't be sent. Cashiers keep churning. There is a lot of float there. So we had built in integrated systems, and we saw a massive takeoff. So just to give you some metrics, pre the pandemic, the UPI contribution inside the store volume was around 0.5 to 0.7%. Today, it is 4.5%. In the past 1.5 years, it's reached 4.5%. And of course, it benefits the retailers because UPI carries zero MDR. So we also saw very interesting use cases coming. For example, dual displays, where one of our merchant categories, they built up the UPI in front of the consumer rather than on the machine. So you can do parallel checkout, right? While the person is billing and packing the goods, the consumer is already doing the payment. So it cut down time. We saw UPI on the receipt. So we did this with a fast food category, where they said on the slip that comes out itself, you have a dynamic QR, which is closed with the bill and the amount and all. And that was a wonderful thing. It was actually done right through the pandemic, because that is touchless. At the same time, you are not having to build in any sophisticated technology at the counter. So a lot of things like that have sort of innovations happened, which really made a difference both internally and externally.
Thanks. George, what's your view on this one? I mean, how did you deal with customers during this period?
Well, again, for us, it's a case of something that Aniruddha said, which, how do you transform the associates to do something different? I mean, traditionally, associates are there to greet the customers. So a lot of the things that we've been doing is a case of, for the in-store essentially, is basically, how do you arm the associate with the right technology, and how do you get them to collaborate and see something a little bit more broader than what's happening within their store? So for us, it's always been a case of arming the associates, because for us, it's especially in an omni-channel, or I'd like to steal, Krishna's comment of unichannel. How do you provide that? And I guess the key thing is utilizing the stores differently. Now, with associates who are essentially trained and used to dealing with customers, greeting customers, all this has been spun on its head. If you're looking at social distancing, they've got to do things a little bit differently. So for us, it was a case of, providing the right technology. And now what I mean by technology is, the tools that they need to do everyday tasks, and especially with the new tasks, making sure that they could do that. So for instance, when you can't be next to each other and you need to social distance from each other, better communication tools, looking at mobile devices where you could actually physically talk from one person to the other person. When you look at giving, I guess, options to customers when things are out of stock, instead of leaving them dwindling in the store and just really stuck there, not being able to move for an answer, feeling unsafe, how do you pull up the information quickly and easily in the palm of your hand to be able to give them options to say, if the size 3 isn't here, or the wrong colors here, and we don't have it in stock, but I can get it to you from a different location. That's for us the key thing that we were looking to do with our customers, to give them that, I guess, to go back that 360 experience. And again, it comes down with having the right technology with the right people, but more importantly, again, having the foundations of something as simple as inventory visibility and inventory management, making sure that you know exactly where everything is, so that a customer is not stuck in a store waiting for an answer because someone has to pick up the phone and ring another store. An associate next to them can quickly, easily get that information, get them out of the store as quickly as humanly possible.
Right. Thanks so much, George. So, I mean, hopefully we're all of us trying to get back to offices now and, go back to our normal days of working. But a lot of organizations have invested a lot over the last 1 year in multiple tools and, in terms of collaborating with each other, newer technologies, etc. How do you see that continuing over the next 1 year with a 3 to 5 year window? Starting with Kiran, are we going to throw away all these investments that we've done in the last 1 year, or we continue to use them? How do you see that paradigm shift happening going forward?
Well, definitely no. Tools will going to continue, and they are going to add good productivity and bring optimization of your cost also. So let me brief you some of the tools which precisely has changed the way we used to work before, and always IT from decades trying to push digital technologies in every pocket, but still there is to be a resistance. But now there is no big resistance from the business or a customer. So talking from an employee point of view, the training and learning used to be a very cumbersome process, booking a hotels, making people sit and do. So that entire system has been changed to now a mobile-based applications where we make some learning and development tools. There will be self-assessment. There will be some kind of training with some interactive, intuitive kind of applications, which is able to assess the employee, and we are able to promote the employees to the next level. So this and all have been adopted to a mobile now. So every crew member to a management, people are using this kind of tools and mobiles. There are some of the people who will be creating the content, and they will be largely the crew people who will be using this, and they will be learning by themselves. Thanks. Similarly, coming to the other part, the entire human resource management, right from your onboarding to exit, is completely now mobile. So now anyone we largely hire at a store level, and the hiring process used to be a very complex process. Now everything is mobile. The employee who's been selected will take a photograph, he'll link his Aadhaar card, he will give his documents, he'll be on, and then training starts, and then he will start the journey, and then leave management, exit, everything is now mobile based. Similarly, when it comes to the store operations, where we used to have a servers and a back office systems where people used to sit and spend a lot of time in back rooms, now the entire operations what the supervisors and managers do are again mobile. So they can just on a go, inward, outward, or inventory checking. So all these processes are now well adopted, and some are in a process of adoption of this kind of mobile technologies. So this is going to be a future, and it doesn't been going to stop. So it happens.
Very lovely.
Then Kunal, let me
yeah, sure. I'll come back to you on this, Kiran. Krishnan, what's your take on this one?
Sorry.
What's your take on all these investments that we've done, and a lot of collaboration tools, a lot of technologies over the last 1 year? How do you see that continuing over the next going forward with a 3 to 5 year window in mind?
I don't see them going away, right? But obviously, whether it's a positive thing or not positive depends on the sector. For example, education going digital and children staring at a screen at the age of 5 and 6. I mean, I really hope the classrooms open again. Okay, but in our business, for example, the hybrid journey, many customers have enjoyed, and I don't see that going away. Okay, and obviously bandwidth is improving, right? 5G is also not all that far away. So for our lines of products, being able to present them on a screen in a very pleasing way and enable customers to shortlist as a family, right? And we are now rolling out something called squad browsing. You can actually send a link to several of your friends, and all of them can be viewing what you're viewing and giving you comments on friends and family, of course.
Lovely.
Right? So many use cases, right? The bride wanting to select jewelry, or someone just wanting to select an ornament, a watch, whatever, right? Virtual try-on, all of us know, nothing strange, right? And so even in products that are actually most enjoyed when physically interacted with, the sequence will be digital first. That's the way we see it, right? Followed by a visit to the store. And even in the store, you hang a QR code next to the product. The customer can check herself out end to end, right? So you don't need to go to the cashiering counter.
Thanks. Tirthankar, you're working with a lot of vendors now. How do you see things changing going forward for you guys in terms of collaborating with your vendors and customers around the world?
What we see is at the end of the day, specific to retail, what we see is the keyword is frictionless shopping.
Yeah.
As long as the customer is able to experience a good level of shopping, he or she will come to the store. What we saw from a trend is that there are three types of customers. One, who goes to the platform or a website and chooses and purchases. There's a second type of customer who actually goes to a website, selects what he likes, then goes to a physical store, sees it, and then buys at the store. There's a third type who actually want to go to the store, experience the store, and what the store has to offer, and then pick it up themselves, right? So any technology which will enable these three different scenarios will continue to evolve and will go. And so basically, as the customers become more aware and more informative, we have to invest in the right technological infrastructure to satisfy their needs. And it can be RFID, it can be AI, anything which actually enables a frictionless shopping experience for them. Because what we are seeing, a global trend, is that a customer satisfaction when they go to a store, and the experience is of paramount importance. Apart from CSR things like sustainability, what we are seeing is a lot of customers are buying a brand or a product because they're more socially responsible, or they have a sustainable agenda in their thing. So what we see is that as long as customer satisfaction, how do you sort of with customer satisfaction as the key word here, whatever technology is going to enable that is going to stay and move forward.
Thanks. And George, we're going to see a lot of RFID. We're going to see a lot of technologies coming in. Where do you see your business going forward on this whole subject?
I think the key one for us is RFID is of course a major technology for us. I like what TK said about frictionless. I think the more that we have used technology while we've been in lockdown, the more accustomed we've come to it. So for us, I don't think that's going to change. I think it's always going to be here. So for us, it's about the enablement of the omnichannel, the enablement of the fulfillment, the last mile logistics, and from that side of things, just basically enabling retailers to make smarter decisions based on where a customer is and where the goods are. So for them, again, we've mentioned sort of that unichannel, that omnichannel. If a customer is 3 kilometers from the store, but 100 kilometers from a distribution center, then giving them the tools to understand that and then action that in real time, as well as looking at other technologies such as prescriptive analytics and workforce automation software that kind of helps associates do their roles quickly and easily, and then gives them more time back with the customers when customers are back in the store.
Right. Lovely. So on that, I think we're towards the end of the session. Any closing thoughts from each of you all in one line? If you have to say, what's the future of these collaborative tools going forward? If you have to just summarize in one line, how would you put it across? Aniruddha, starting with you.
The way we look at it, we will become more collaborative, because the transaction part of it through digital we are addressing. But in a digital world, how to measure a smile score, that we would look to reinvent and to execute in coming quarters.
Thanks. Rajeev.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think collaboration is here to stay. I think it can help all of us save money on one side, and second side, create experiences which were probably never imaginable earlier. So it can only lead to a better world where there'll probably be lesser wastage, at the same time, more happiness out there. So absolutely there to stay.
Thanks. Krishnan?
Well, hybrid is a new normal.
Lovely. That was really good. Kiran, what's your take? Final words.
Yeah, SaaS and cloud and hybrid are going to work for the future.
You've used all the fancy words there. Tirthankar?
Yeah, I'll say omni-channel with customer interactive technologies. That is the future.
Sure, thanks. Vishal?
Companies will build all the capabilities to stay relevant and building scale. They will try to do everything to build scale.
All right. George, I'll let you have the last word.
I think for me, it's very simple. Customer experience will keep customers coming back. So anything that you can do to transform your business to actually help the customer experience. And for me, the associates are a big part of that.
Thanks everyone. I think it's been a wonderful panel discussion. Thanks for having all of you all over here. It was really, really fun moderating all of you. I hope there was a lot of learnings for everyone in the audience out there. Hopefully we all get to see each other in person very soon. Thanks.